What a day. Woke up and supposedly the Steelers inquired about trading for Trevor Lawrence. That was a bombshell. And then you looked into it a little bit more, and more reports came out about it, and things kind of got debunked. Things kind of escalated a little too quickly there. I'll start it with a tweet, though, from Ryan Burr. Said Steelers have made inquiries to the @Jaguars about a trade for Trevor Lawrence. This directly from the horse's mouth in the Jags organization. Wow. And Ryan Burr's a legit reporter. He doesn't have the verified check mark on X, on Twitter, but he's a legit reporter. You could check out his credentials that he has in his bio on Twitter. But also, I remember him from the past too. Back in like 2021, 2022, he was dropping some news regarding Big Ben and the Steelers. Like, he was in the know. So this just isn't completely out of left field, right? Or at least we thought. Because then you had the responses from some big hitters, some big-time names in the game. From the Rich Eisen show, Tom Pelissero, the report's actually from him, but he went on there and told everyone that it was fake. That's the first tweet. Pittsburgh never called Jacksonville about Lawrence. Michael DeRocco, I guess he's affiliated with ESPN somehow. You could see his handle at ESPN DeRocco. Had two tweets. This is regarding the recent report that Steelers have inquired about a trade for Jaguars Trevor Lawrence. Jaguar source said there's no chance they'll trade Lawrence and called the idea ridiculous. So that's kind of where I made a video on this earlier today. And that's kind of where I left off. I had the Ryan Burr tweet, and Ryan Burr even had a couple follow-up tweets saying that the Steelers would be willing to give up a first and a second-round pick. And then it was that Michael DeRocco tweet that I just read. And I was saying, like, listen, there's nothing in that tweet that says the Steelers didn't call, the Steelers didn't inquire. All you're saying is that the Jaguars are definitely not trading Trevor Lawrence, that they feel like it's a ridiculous idea that anyone thinks they're going to trade him. But you're not saying the Steelers didn't call. You're not refuting that Ryan Burr is wrong in that the Steelers actually reached out. But then he says, circling back, Jaguar source said no conversation with the Steelers regarding to a potential trade for Trevor Lawrence took place. So another hour or two went by. He quote tweeted his initial tweet responding or reacting to Ryan Burr's tweet. And then you also had big-time Steelers reporter Mark Caboli. He's a correspondent for the Pat McAfee show. Also say that he had heard no information regarding the Steelers reaching out about Trevor Lawrence. Says in no way imaginable inquired about trading for Trevor Lawrence. Have no interest in even reaching out to the Jaguars about acquiring Lawrence. So not only, apparently, according to Mark Caboli, Steelers didn't reach out in the past at all. They don't want to at all in the future either, according to a source. It was fun while it lasted. The thought that the Steelers actually reached out to Trevor Lawrence. And I'm not even saying Ryan Burr is wrong. He's got to be hearing that from somewhere. Someone wanted that information out there, whether it's a straight lie and someone made it up within the Jaguars organization or within the Steelers organization, leaked it to Ryan Burr. Well, he said he heard it directly from the Jaguars organization. So I guess you could lean more it coming from there. So it's either someone just straight up lied to him or he heard something legit. Was it Omar Khan reaching out? Was it Tomlin reaching out to the Jaguars? Maybe not, but was it someone else within the Steelers organization trying to see what the Jaguars' interest would be in moving off of Lawrence? Maybe that's true. Maybe. Because, like, what's in it for Ryan Burr to just make that up out of nowhere? Is he trying to get clicks? Is he trying to get likes on Twitter? I don't think so. He had to have had someone within the Jaguars organization tell him. Now, who in the Jaguars organization? That's a different story. How good is his source? That's a different story. But either way, it looks like it didn't happen to like that legit of an extent. It didn't happen to where like Omar Khan's calling like the Jaguars coach, because Jaguars don't even have a general manager right now. I don't think it was like Omar Khan dealt directly with the Jags owner or the Jags head coach or anything like that. But maybe there was a couple people lower on the totem pole in each organization trying to figure some things out. Maybe that happened. Maybe. But either way, based off the response to the Ryan Burr tweet from Tom Pelissero, Mark Caboli, again, two big names in the media, Michael DeRocco. I guess he's more of a local guy down there in Florida, Jacksonville, connected to ESPN. Based off the response, yeah, this ain't happening. This definitely ain't happening. Now, this is a good question, though, from Zibby326. Would you even want T-Law? Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing. Whenever I first heard the report, I wished it was true. Because, again, where I first heard the report and then kind of where I left off before hearing some of these responses, these updates, was that the Steelers actually did reach out, but the Jaguars have no interest in trading him. So I still had a feeling that Steelers aren't making this move. Jaguars aren't making this move. This isn't going to get done. But at least I appreciated the thought that the Steelers reached out and were willing to turn over every stone on this quarterback position to see who was all really available this offseason. Because you're going to have the free agents. Rodgers, he just got released by the Jets. Sam Darnold, depending on what the Vikings do with the franchise tag, all that, he's going to be available. Daniel Jones, we got our two in-house guys that are going to be available, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You got the draft coming up. So Kirk Cousins, he's probably going to get cut by the Falcons. So you already know all those names. But there are other guys like a Stafford, maybe Kyler Murray, maybe a Trevor Lawrence, even though his name hadn't been brought up in trade rumors for a minute ever since they hired Liam Cohen, because once they hired Cohen, you just figured they're going to keep Lawrence. Lawrence is probably one of the main reasons why Cohen wanted that job. So I completely forgot about that. But then woke up and this tweet was sent out by Ryan Burr. But at least I appreciated the thought that the Steelers reached out in a legitimate way. Based off of these response tweets by Pelissero, Caboli, and DeRocco, did the Steelers really reach out in a legitimate way, or was it something that was a little bit more fluff than substance? But going back to your question about would I even want T-Law? Yeah, I would. Would he be my number one option? I don't know. But there's a case for Trevor Lawrence. I just want elite quarterback play. I want a franchise quarterback. I want a guy that can go toe-to-toe with Mahomes, Josh Allen, and all these other stud QBs in the AFC. And Trevor Lawrence has that potential. Trevor Lawrence won a big playoff game against the Chargers coming back from, 20? I don't even know how many down they were. It was something crazy. Wasn't it like 28? They were down 28 or something like that in the wild card game against the Chargers. So outthrew Herbert there, led an epic comeback, won that wild card game back a couple of years ago. And then, wasn't outmatched by Mahomes in any stretch in that divisional game when they played the Chiefs. Played pretty good. If it wasn't for the Jaguars running back fumbling down by the red zone as the Jaguars were going to score, they were either going to tie it or they were going to get it within a field goal, and there was still like a fourth quarter to be played. If it wasn't for that, maybe the Jaguars get up out of that game with a win. But either way, Lawrence impressed in his performance in the playoffs a couple years ago. And obviously he has the talent. He was drafted number 1 overall. Problem is he hasn't been consistent enough. He's been a little banged up. But he's intriguing. It's almost like I compare if Trevor Lawrence went from Jacksonville to a new team, almost like Matt Stafford leaving the Lions and going to the Rams. Jaguars, not anymore, because the Lions, they've stepped it up in the Dan Campbell era. But Lions, Jaguars historically have been on the same level as being garbage franchises. You think of whenever Lawrence first got his start here in the NFL, he had Urban Meyer as his coach. They moved off of him. That was a disaster rookie year for Lawrence. But then they bring in Doug Peterson, an actual competent guy. I thought that was a good hire. Lawrence turns it around. They make the playoffs. He wins a playoff game. Plays pretty good against Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then his second year with Peterson, his third year overall, was actually playing pretty good to start too. We played him midway through the season in like week 8 or week 9. They were 7-1 or 7-2. I think they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They beat us. and he was playing pretty good, and then he got hurt. And the Jaguars had an epic collapse of the regular season, missed the playoffs. Yeah, I remember that too, because they lost that last game to the Titans. That was like a winner get in moment for them. They lost, and that bumped us in to play the Bills in the wild card. So that was kind of nice. And then last year, banged up again, more inconsistent play. Peterson gets fired. And that's where we're at with Lawrence. His stats aren't anything crazy. He's definitely underwhelmed when you're talking about the expectation of him coming into the league, because he was supposed to be can't miss. After Elway and Andrew Luck, he was the next guy that everyone was talking about being can't miss, because we saw what he did at Clemson. He won a national championship his freshman year. He was the number 1 overall pick, can make every throw in the book, versatile with his legs. So, like, the talent's there. And it's still there. We still see him make ridiculous throws week in and week out, but the winning hasn't been completely there. Now, part of that could be him being with the Jaguars. That's not going to help you. Very disoriented franchise. But then also, he just has been too inconsistent with his play and has been banged up in his own right. But absolutely, I would be interested if I was the Steelers. Absolutely. For all the same reasons I talked about with Stafford whenever he left the Lions and the Rams took a chance on him. Even though I don't think he won a playoff game with the Lions, you could see him being able to keep the Lions relevant, and he was banged up a lot with Detroit too. But you just wonder, it's like always one of those things, man, Stafford, former number 1 overall pick, has been a Pro Bowl quarterback with the Lions. Yeah, there's been some inconsistent play at times, but there's also been times he's been carrying them and keeping them relevant way more than what they deserve to be. What would he be with a different organization? So that's how I would view a Trevor Lawrence going from Jaguars to Pittsburgh. But here's the only thing. Again, I do have my concerns about Lawrence. I do wonder if he's ever going to reach his full ceiling, because we're 4 years into this. I would have at least liked to have seen more. We've seen some signs. I would have liked to have seen more. So will he actually reach that top 6 or 7 quarterback in the league type of potential that he has? Yeah, you don't know until you see it going forward. And that maybe very well could happen with the Jaguars, the new coach, Liam Cohen, all that. So, I mean, we're just speculating on that. But 4 years in, yeah, he's still leaving more to be desired. But there has been points throughout his career where we're talking about him being a top 10 guy, right? Now he's faltered, specifically this last year, out of the top 10. But I wonder, I mean, thinking of what it would take to get him, Ryan Burr brought up a first-round pick and a second-round pick. Yeah, I would do that. If you really think Trevor Lawrence can be a guy, because that's the goal. Again, that's get a quarterback. You got to get a quarterback. Lawrence has shown signs. He's at least shown, too, what his floor is. His floor is a competent starter in this league. So you're at least getting that floor with Trevor Lawrence, but his upside is being a Justin Herbert, a Josh Allen type. Will he unlock that in Jacksonville? Who knows? Because obviously he's not getting traded. But what if he went to the Steelers? Would he unlock it here? We definitely do have our concerns or questions with our coaching staff and our philosophy and all that. So, I mean, that would be fair to question too. But if I'm the Steelers, yes, I'm definitely willing to take that chance. But is he the best option? Trading up picks, taking on that contract, is that necessarily better than just re-signing Justin Fields for 10 or 15 million? Both guys are out of the same draft class. Both guys are extremely talented. Lawrence has done more in the league, proven more in the league, but more recently, Justin Fields has been better. Smaller sample size, but Justin Fields in 6 games last year was the better quarterback versus Trevor Lawrence. So maybe it's just easier to go that route, re-sign Fields. And I like that approach. You guys have heard me all offseason. Between Russ and Fields, go Fields. Be open to other options, but Fields is a good one. Fields is a damn good option. Sign him for 10, 15 million, 1 year. And then instead of trading those draft picks that you would have to get a Trevor Lawrence, you use those draft picks to get a receiver. You get Justin Fields some help. Not that complicated. So, like, yeah, we could talk about Lawrence being a legit option, but Fields might be just as legit of an option, considering the contract you got to give him and the resources that you're able to save and the talent that he has. Sometimes the simple solution, the best solution, is just sitting right in front of you. And I think for the Steelers, it probably is Fields. I know I bring up Rodgers. I know we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, if that could have been a legit option, a Matt Stafford. But maybe the best, most simple solution is just re-signing Justin Fields, giving him a 1-year deal, giving him the keys, and seeing if he could pull it off. If he could be at least a top 10, top 12 quarterback for the course of a whole season. But the Steelers would also have to lean into that. We can't give Justin Fields the keys and say, let's do our 90s style offense. No. Get innovative, get imaginative, run an offense like the Eagles do with Hurts. Do that kind of stuff with Fields. Start doing the tush push. And we might be on our way. We might be. But a lot of ifs. Definitely a lot of ifs. But yes, Trevor Lawrence would be in the category of guys I would be interested in playing quarterback for the Steelers next year. You know my top 3 that I've been talking about. Fields, Stafford, Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, I would throw in there too if he was really available, but he's not. So let's just take him out of this. And then I'd also even consider like a Kyler Murray for a lot of the same reasons with Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, that would really be it. Anyone else? Kirk Cousins. You guys know the vibe. Any quarterback that I deem as limited, not as a franchise quarterback, not as a guy that can go toe-to-toe with these top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC, like, you're wasting my time. You're just flat out wasting my time with Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, whoever else. Russell Wilson. I just don't want to hear it. Okay, what else we got in the chat, man? Because that was it for, I guess, the Trevor Lawrence non-story. But I think it's a good conversation, at least. It sparked good conversation about Steelers quarterback. Would Trevor Lawrence be a good idea? What would you be willing to give up to get a quarterback of Trevor Lawrence's caliber? Is that smarter than just re-signing Justin Fields? Aaron Rodgers just got released. What about him? Does that work? Yeah, the downside with Rodgers is the age, obviously, and some of the drama and noise that you get from him. Whereas Fields, you don't got any of that. And he's 25 years old. The thing is, Fields has never been on Aaron Rodgers' level. Even Rodgers' down year last year, 28 touchdowns, 6th or 7th in the league, right? And now going into 2025, he'll be another year removed from that Achilles. It's not like he faded towards the end of 2024. He actually got better. Kirk Cousins faded, which would be one of my many concerns about signing on to have Kirk Cousins be your quarterback for the following season. My other concerns are he's just not good enough. I like this question. This is a great transition here from Zibby326. Is what the Steelers going to do at running back? I'm glad you asked, because that was my second topic for today. Najee Harris. What are the Steelers going to do with Najee? Because I'm seeing some stuff that's pointing to the Steelers running it back with him. And I don't know. I think it's time to move on. It's almost like with Russell Wilson. I think it's not about the contract. It's not about the numbers. It's not about value anymore. I just think it's time to move on and try to do something else on offense at the running back position. We've had 4 years of Najee, and we know what we're getting. You know exactly what we're getting. I think we need to get more explosive, more dynamic. Jaylen Warren has those attributes, but I think we need another guy that has those attributes as well to pair with Jaylen Warren. Not necessarily a scat back or anything, but, dude, look at these running backs coming out in the draft this year. There's a lot of guys that have size, but more nimble on their feet, can take it to the house. And those are things that Najee Harris has proven pretty consistently that he's incapable of. Outside of this, what was it, a month window we saw in the middle of this season, he was looking like Barry Sanders out there. He was looking like the bus with his quick feet, his jukes, and then he basically knew when to be the agile back. He knew how to use his looseness, and then at the same time knew how to use his body and be a physical running back and run over guys. He was just seeing the field well. He was doing everything right middle of the season. But then that fell off at the end. And I'm seeing his calculated market value at $9.2 million per year. which is probably fair given that he has 4 1,000-yard seasons all in a row. It would be a 3-year deal, 3 years, $27 million. Even Jerry Dulac, like signs are starting to point towards Najee being back. Jerry Dulac went on the Mark Madden show, and here's some quotes from him. Says, "I don't think it's the Steelers' priority to go get a running back in the first 2 days of the draft, but I think you'll see them draft one on day 3, a guy who can get to the edge, a guy who has some speed." Fair. I mean, even if we do bring Najee back, we still need to do that. Says, "What I'm hearing is that if they re-sign him, it'll be an average of 7 to 10 million over no more than 3 years. I don't think it'll be 2. That's what it's going to take if they decide to do it." So it's kind of in that range. Steelers would like it to be more, closer to 7, Najee closer to 10. You get this calculated market value from Spot Rack at 9.2 million. It's in between. Again, I don't know if it's necessarily about the money though, because yeah, we could deal with 9.2 million, especially if you make half the contract guaranteed. Say it's 3 years, 9 million, so it's 27. Cut that in half, 13 million guaranteed. So you kind of have an out maybe after that first season if you really wanted to, but definitely after that second season. I just, man, I want to look different on offense. Man. I see teams like the Eagles and the Ravens with their running backs. Now, those are 2 all-timers, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. Don't get me wrong. But even the Lions, a very run-heavy team, with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, it's just better. It's a better running game than what we got going here. It's just flat out right better. And if we go with Fields, we are going to have a very run-dominant offense. I would like to see what Fields could look like with another running back outside of Najee Harris, with a Jaylen Warren and maybe one of these guys you draft in the top 3 rounds. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa is one that comes to mind. I know some have us drafting Ashton Genty in the first round. I don't know if we want to do that again, draft another running back in the first round, especially with how deep this running back class is. Like, we've got to see Najee for 4 we know what he is. He's a good running back, but it's fair to ask, can we do better? Can we do better? If we gave one of these running backs, and it's not even about just giving one running back the same amount of carries as Najee Harris. If you took Najee Harris's carries, let's just say, how about this? Take Justin Fields out of the picture. If we took all the running back carries for next year, and Najee Harris isn't on the team, so say it's Jaylen Warren, and either we sign a guy in free agency and we draft a guy. We got a 3-headed running back room, like getting snaps. We take the total snaps from those 3 running backs in 2025. Najee Harris isn't there, and we compare it to what our running back stats were last year. I like if the combination of Najee, Jaylen Warren, and Cordell Patterson. I bet you it's not worse. It's either going to be the same or it's going to be better. That's my thinking. To put it even more simply, maybe I got a little bit, it made it a little bit too confusing there. But I'm because the reason is, you know how the running back position works. Like, Najee Harris's carries aren't necessarily just going to be taken over by one running back. That's not a one-to-one thing. That's not a guarantee. Najee Harris's carries might be taken over a little bit more by Jaylen Warren, and then another guy we bring in, and then if we have a third running back. So that's why I was just, if we compare the running back carries as a whole, both units, I'm sure it's pretty much the same, if not worse. So I mean, or if not better. I mean, obviously you got to see if that happens, but that's my bet. So what does that tell you about the impact of Najee Harris? But if you just want to say we're taking running back X in the second or third round, giving him Najee Harris's exact touches and carries from 2024, I bet you the stats are the same. If not better. Am I wrong? Are you guys with me? Any rebuttals? Because it's not like Najee is this super efficient runner or anything. It's not like he's averaging 4.5 per carry. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. I think a lot of running backs can do that. I think a lot of running backs can average 3.9, 4 yards a carry. To his credit, though, he stays healthy. But are you paying running backs that type of money just because of their durability and they can stay healthy? Is that worth $10 million to you when you're still missing out on the take it to the house ability and explosive plays, dynamic plays that we see a lot of other running backs around the league be able to pull off? Now Najee has a unique skill set. Let's not discredit him completely here. I'm just ready to move on. It's almost like Russ last year. Russ didn't play bad. Russ didn't play awful. But I just don't think it's enough going forward. If we're trying to hit our ultimate goal, I don't think it's enough. It's not going to be enough to beat these other quarterbacks. When talking about Russ and with Najee Harris, I don't think it's enough to get our ground game to the level that's competitive with some of these other top running games. I'm sorry. Zibby agrees with me. He says, let's get a home run hitter. Offense needs to be more explosive. Yeah, so yeah, you agree with me, I guess. Because if we brought Najee back for that $7 million, what if it was 3 years, $7 million? Like that's a great deal. It is, especially when you compare him to other running backs across the league that have been getting paid. Tony Pollard, he got 3 years for $21 million with the Titans. David Montgomery, after his good year with the Lions, got a 2-year extension for $9 million a year. I'd probably take Montgomery over Najee Harris. Like even at the time of when Montgomery signed, because he was coming off a pretty good season with the Lions. 4.6 yards per carry, double-digit touchdowns, split in the backfield with Jahmyr Gibbs. So I would take Montgomery, but it's still that range. Montgomery's getting 9. Najee's like maybe a little bit below Montgomery in the rankings, not by much. Ramondre Stevenson, last offseason got a $9 million per year contract. Najee's better than him. James Conner just got 2 years, $19 million, so that's $9.5 million per year. I'd take Conner over Najee. Chuba Hubbard, middle of the season, got an $8.3 million per year deal, multi-year extension, finished the season with 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. So maybe he's, at least from a recency bias standpoint, a little bit higher than Najee, but not as consistent as Najee over the last 4 years, 3-4 years. So he's in that range. It's all in that range, 8 million, 9 million, and then for Najee, it's like, what do you value? The Steelers are offering you a little bit of a lowball offer. Maybe it's 3 years for 6.5 per year, 7 million per year. Do you prefer that? Coming back to the team that drafted you, knowing that even though we have our complaints about the Steelers, there is a certain floor with this team. You know who your coach is and Coach T, all that stuff. Do you come back to that as opposed to going to a team like the Jaguars and they're going to pay you like $10 million per year? It's on what you value, but I think that's the range. If the Steelers do offer him something like that, I think it's fair. I think it's going to be fair. $7 million, probably a little bit below market value, but if I'm the Steelers, I'm not going out of my way. If I was the GM, I probably wouldn't sign him, but I could see a path for bringing Najee back, especially if Tomlin wants him back, if the front office wants him back, Omar wants him back. If they just want him back, they like Najee to that degree that they're willing to continue to build with him, then it's going to happen. And to Najee's credit, he's been consistent enough, right, to where it's not like we would be paying him a bad contract if we brought him back for that range. Now, 10 million, a little steep. I think 7 million is the right number for me. 7 million is the right number. We declined his 5th-year option, and that was for 6.9 million. So it shouldn't be too much more than that. If we were smart, we just give him that 5th-year option then last offseason. My God. But all right, man, that's it for today's show. This was a good one. some Trevor Lawrence talk, quarterback talk, and Najee Harris talk. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely gonna be an interesting offseason. Probably not nothing's gonna top last offseason with the Kenny swap, moving off of Mason, cutting Mitch, and then bringing in Russ and Fields. Whole quarterback room turnover. We signed Patrick Queen out of nowhere. Trade Deontay for Dante Jackson. Nothing's beating that, but this still should be a good one with all this quarterback uncertainty still out there on the table. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a safe weekend out there. Here we go, Steelers. I'll be back Tuesday, 6 o'clock again, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Peace.